Lunar greetings, dear astro friends. It's Melanie here on the day of the penumbral lunar eclipse full moon in Libra Aries. Today is the 25th of March 2024, and last night, so exactly at midnight, was the full moon. I hope you saw her just as we did here on the West Coast. It was the one sunny and clear night sky that we had in the last few days. So that was just perfect. And she was super bright and clear in Libra, yet also eclipsed. So what's with that penumbral eclipse, right? So we're wondering, hey, I saw the whole moon disk. Nothing was bitten out, so to say. No, because it was not a partial lunar eclipse, it was a penumbral eclipse. So in the penumbral eclipse, the Earth is, or the moon rather, is in the outskirts sort of the Earth's shadow. It's not exactly in the Earth's shadow, then it can be a partial or a total eclipse. But when it's on the outside, it's basically on the periphery of the shadow. That is a penumbral, that creates a penumbral eclipse. And that's also seen by the fact that the moon and the node, in this case the south node, they are quite a bit away from each other. So in this case, 507 was the moon, and 1624, 11 degrees, 11 and a half degrees apart was the node last night. So not as strong as a partial eclipse or even a total lunar eclipse. But nevertheless, it was an eclipse and a relatively exact full moon, opening the eclipse season, the spring eclipse season of 2024, the first eclipse of the year, in fact, and the first full moon in spring. So, how are you feeling today on the other side of the eclipse? And how's it going with Libran affairs? In other words, with all things relating to balance, fairness, culture, fairness, balance, justice for one, um, and equality, and also culture, relationship, relatedness, agreements, negotiation, all of that. So that has been quite strongly on the table here with the eclipse, brought up in the buildup of the eclipse and being also processed out in the um, waning moon phase before the next eclipse, which will be the total solar eclipse on April 8th, that we've been waiting for and everybody's excited about. Not quite yet. So first we need to process the lunar eclipse effects. So what's that all about on the south node in Libra? South node has to do with an energy that is familiar yet and easy in a way. It's kind of a default that we can gravitate to, yet we can easily lose energy over it when we do too much of it. And even the south node north node axis also has to do with balance. So in other words, if we overdo things on the Libra side, it's not very beneficial. So what could that be done? What could be that about? It can be about compromising or compensating, right? So like I used an example of my newsletter also, when which happens a lot for people who are very, so to say, agreeable, they might like to like peace, like harmony, and then for the sake of peace and harmony, compensating for other people's more aggressive, more assertive, more even violent, narcissistic, all of that behavior that's not very considerate, right? So then it's actually a compromise, a compensation, and that's not really a good relationship and not a good agreement on an inner plane. Yet it might be for us to learn something, right? To not be putting up with things so much. Then we have to learn to bring more Aries energy in. So positive Aries energy comes in now so strongly. I can show you the chart of the eclipse right here, of this one that we just had last night. You see the moon and the south node in Libra, whereas there's so much going on in Aries and also in the neighboring signs of Pisces and Taurus, but even more and more coming into Aries. So what's with that? Even Venus will go into Aries here soon on April 4th. And that will all be part of the total solar eclipse when we have the moon as well and Venus. Anyway, it's already pretty packed here. And yeah, so more positive Aries energy is encouraged. So that literally can mean courage, boldness, to be more true to ourselves, to also do our own thing if needed, rather than just for the sake of being with somebody, putting up with what's not a real good compatible companionship, and taking initiative. Also approaching life and all sorts of situations in a new way, also approaching people. Aries says, doesn't even think so much about what could be the consequence. Aries is such a doer, right? And very much in the moment and say, hey, what's up? Do you want to do this or that? Or rather, I'm doing this or that. Do you want to come with me? And if the other person says, sorry, I don't have time or not now or whatever, then they say, okay, next time. And with Aries, you go anyway, right? You're not making your life and your actions and your projects depending on other people. So we need a bit more of that rather than being held back by relationships and dynamics that keep us sort of down and hold us back from our future and from our authenticity. Aries is all about authenticity. So let's be more authentic. Let's show ourselves as we are, and let's face. Aries literally rules the face. Let's face what's here in front of us and do something about it rather than sitting on a fence and pondering, asking more people, getting more input. That would be very Libra, right? Sitting on the fence. So, yeah. And also relationships that are not in balance and are not really truly compatible are also up now with that South Node in Libra, up for release. And if not the relationship itself, then definitely that pattern. And we may want to do ceremony that especially is now in the waning moon phase really beneficial, right? To do something symbolic, to bring these patterns that we've been carrying so long to the ocean, to the river. Typically, flowing body of water is fantastic for outflow, and also the moon is so related to all waters. So that would be especially a good idea under the Scorpio moon. The moon is still in Libra now, today and Monday, and tomorrow, Tuesday, 26th. Then the moon will go into Scorpio at 2 or 3 a.m. on Wednesday, and will be in Scorpio Wednesday, Thursday, and until Friday noon or 1 p.m.-ish. So that is a fabulous time for anything that's been sitting under the surface of these nice and too much, likability oriented Libran side. What's really the motivation? What are the emotional undercurrents of that? What are we hiding? What are we repressing? What's the shadow we don't want to look at? And that could come up with a Scorpio moon. And the Scorpio moon is also fantastic to get to the bottom of things, to purge, to literally do spring cleaning, and it's a waning moon at the same time. Then, yes, so we are in the waning moon phase. Then the moon will go into Sagittarius on Friday afternoon, which is Good Friday in the Christian tradition. And the Sagittarius, the Scorpio to Sagittarius energy is actually in itself quite a resurrection energy and a phoenix energy coming through deep, dark valleys of pain, of death, of grieving, of anything that is very intense. We coming through that and coming out reborn and with new freedom. That is once a month, the Phoenix moon, when the moon goes from Scorpio to Sag. And that will be this year, this month, will be on Friday, 12:02 or 12:52, sorry, 12:52 p.m. Then the moon will be over the Easter weekend in Sagittarius. So all day Saturday, all day Sunday until Sunday evening at 9 o'clock. So that's a beautiful Easter energy for more spirit arising and inspiring us for, truth, freedom, and new life, and also understanding, right? Understanding what the recent process has been, and getting the bigger picture in so many ways, right? And then from that place, also from the Sagittarian place, new avenues can arise. We rise again, and it has to do also with storytelling. So there's also lots of stories that can be told from having come through things and understanding the world in a big way. Sagittarius is philosopher. Sagittarius always seeks truth and freedom. So for that matter, also philosophy and worldview and way of living that can bring more freedom, more abundance. All of that is very Sagittarian. Then the moon goes into Capricorn on Sunday evening, as I said, 9:05 p.m. We'll be there all day Monday, all day Tuesday, and that's also as long as this Astro News week goes. So Capricorn makes things more realistic, more pragmatic, more said what really works here and what can we use and how can we simplify. It's like simplicity beyond anything goes Sagittarius. And it will be then also the quarter moon, right? Because the sun is in Aries, the moon will be in Capricorn. So that's typically also a tension and a contrast, if not conflict. In this case, between Aries is all about newness, freshness, even innocence, even naivety, right? Just doing it, showing up. Versus Capricorn is about experience. It's about the elder, and so that wants to be actually brought together, right? So how can we age well and preserve our own inner child, for example? Or how can we, with the children that are born now, see them as old souls and as sages in young and little bodies, right? And also planning is what Capricorn likes versus Aries like spontaneity, right? So to bring these two positions and these two approaches together. Then yes, we are now also, when it comes to Aries, still in the first part of Aries, the first 10 degrees and 10 days of Aries, the first decade, which has an Aries undertone. Everything is fresh. Begin. That's very early Aries, just after spring equinox, and that goes until the 30th of March and or 29th. And from this year, because of a leap year, right, started already on the 20th, on the 19th year, even on the West Coast, spring did in Aries. And then from the 30th on, we go into the second decade, the second 10 degrees, the central part of Aries, which has a Leo undertone. This is all about showing your colors, being bold, being out there, showing your love, and stand in the light of vibrancy and spring and the self, right? And I have a few friends who have their birthday in that decade, and you can really tell how out there they are, how they are demonstrative with their love, also with their messages, right? All about very vibrant, and the colors are really strong, literally. Then it's basically also in this year the energy for Easter, and Easter comes with the colors, the strong colors of spring. The first generation of cherry blossoms is already fading into leaves, and then we have a bolder and brighter colors even coming up in the cherry blossom generations. What's also coming up this week is, in terms of planetary alignments, not so much, more like the moon. But we'll have Venus in Pisces in sextile with Uranus in Taurus, which is ruled by Venus, right? That's on the 28th. And Venus in Pisces, Venus loves Pisces because, and Pisces loves Venus because it's all about universal, unconditional, and all-inclusive love. And it's about vibrations and connectedness rather than exclusivity and so on. So to cultivate those vibrations, to be in a loving energy field, definitely benefits our sense of freedom with Uranus and embodying freedom. What that means in so many ways can be, for example, enjoying life in spring, right? And being out there more. Breaking your habits is also what Uranus and Taurus is a lot about, and surprising yourself at what can be really enjoyable. Lots of people do ocean dips year round and totally enjoy it. I go rather with ocean wading, getting into the water up to my knees, and done this already last week, first time this year, and totally enjoyed it as well. More to come, and anything that makes you feel really alive. And so it's a lot about love and freedom with that Venus Uranus contact, and the sextile between them is also Venus aspect. The aspects, by the way, have also a characteristic of the different planets, like a Mars, like a square has a Mars theme, right? So there's conflict. A sextile is a Venusian aspect, and that is all about harmony and joy and pleasure. And of course, you have also oppositions and all that. I'm not going into that. But what's also coming up this week, and you've already noticed it, I bet, is Mercury is in the starters for going retrograde. So Mercury is in Aries now. That started on March. It's been a while. That started already in, let me find it. Mercury in Pisces, Mercury in Aries on March 9th. On March 9th, Mercury already entered Aries. Holy, that's been for a while, and will be in Aries until May 15th. So that's kind of could be record breaking, because in this case Mercury goes retro all within Aries, right? So if it's the same sign, then it's extra long in that particular sign. So Mercury is already in the pre-retro storm. What does that mean, and when did that start? So it started on the 21st this time of March. Pre-retro storm means Mercury moves still forward, not retro yet, but really slowly, because it's defined by less than 40 minutes per day. Right? So whenever that's the case, Mercury is in the storm, whether before or after retro. Does that before or after retro, of course, right? Because Mercury is, from Earth perspective, it's an optical illusion. Yes, yes, yes. People are now wondering about, hey, Mercury never goes backwards. No, not from sun's perspective, because not the sun's perspective, because we're not in the center of the solar system. So we have this perception that Mercury falls back. That has to do with a few factors. Mercury is an inner planet in relation to the Earth. It's Sun, Mercury, Venus, Earth, Mars, and so on. And also it has a much faster orbit because of that. 88 days around the Sun versus 365 for the Earth, right? And so that, and also both orbits are elliptical and slightly and not totally circular. So all these factors in combination give us the illusion that Mercury is at certain times, which is 3 times a year, actually falling back in the zodiac in relation to the Earth. It's like two trains, both going forward, but one goes from our perspective slower. In this case, the inner one, the Mercury one, is in this case slower than the Earth train, but only because where it is in its orbit. And that happens 3 times a year. Now, Mercury is in a pre-retro storm currently and goes retro on April 1st. It's true. April 1st is this year the day when Mercury goes retrograde and will be retro until April 25th. So typically 3 weeks, this time even a little bit more. And yeah, so the pre-retro phase, what's the effect of that? Typically there are already some symptoms, some premonitions of what could come up in the retro phase. In this case, Aries wise. So Aries tends to be fast, can have fast reactions, fast conclusions, and thinking fast, and but not everybody is on the same page, right? Or they might be faster or jumping ahead, and you are not catching up with them. So it could easily create misunderstandings and need for clarification. So also with Aries taking initiative and being being brave to say, hey, I don't quite understand this. Can you clarify this for me? That went a bit too fast for me. And it's also about coming back to earlier stages in life or earlier processes that happened when we were younger, even children, right? So we can also get back to that with Mercury retro, back to the beginnings. I call the motto of the article with Mercury retro in Aries. And that can be quite inspiring, in fact. It can put us back into that spirit of the early years, so to say. Here's a quick anecdote on that regard. I was at a restaurant by the breakwater with a friend on Friday, just when it started, right? And the Clipper, so that's the ferry, so to say, the speed boat ferry, can we say that? Between Victoria and Seattle came by, or on the horizon, I saw the Clipper, and that reminded me that I went the time when I went on the Clipper, but even more so when I immigrated to Canada. And because it has to do with Seattle also, right? It was Canadian consulate in Seattle, in fact. And then I thought, oh my gosh, that could be, it's actually around this time of year, end of March. Maybe it's the anniversary. And in fact, it was exactly the day of the anniversary of my immigration to Canada on March 22nd, 2000. And so that, of course, brought back all these memories when it all began. And I picked up the document at home and verified that, yeah, exactly was that day. And so what was the energy we were in when something started, when we did something really significant or not, fresh and new, ventured out into the world, took the first steps, and all of that can come up with Mercury retro in Aries and can bring us the um, the energy of that and give us maybe inspiration to once again do something really new and fresh. So more to come with Mercury retro, and also in terms of Aries, right? So Aries can be also, as I said, fast, interrupt people, and sound maybe more aggressive than it is. Um, yeah, so it's all about picking up the meaning of the message through so many channels, but that can be also misleading, right? Ideally, as I would always say, have the most direct connection with people with Mercury retro, and figure how much you have made assumptions and so on. And Aries itself is also very direct and not so convoluted and strategic. So say it as it is, and that can be quite refreshing. So yes, more to come with Mercury retro, as I said, and I think that's it. I showed you the chart of the eclipse. Here it is once again to get a little sense of how imbalanced, in fact, currently the cosmic energy field is. Most of the planets are between early Aquarius for Pluto to mid Taurus for Jupiter and Uranus. Almost all of them. Check that out. And then the moon has been a counterbalance, and Lilith also. Moon in Libra, Lilith in Virgo. And this pattern is called, so the pattern of this alignment within 1, 2, 3, less than 4 signs is called, can be called a bowl, or even, yeah, in this case with 3, a wedge, right? So it's a real narrow concentration of planets. This is where everything happens. If somebody has that in their birth chart, that can be a strong either specialization with these themes of the planets in those signs, but also issues to work with in terms of those houses that it's in. And in this case, the moon is bringing, channeling all that energy out. As I said, moon in Libra as the penumbral eclipse, into how balanced or imbalanced is my life. Has my life been so much, let's say, about Aquarius, Pisces, Aries, Taurus, about society, about everything that's going on and connects us, like the climate, for example, right? And other collective experiences. And then about, oh, what am I going to do? Like Aries can be also a bit panicky, can go into survival mode. And then Taurus is very security oriented, right? And versus Libra would say, okay, you got to be very considerate and consider your options, weigh your options, but don't sit on the fence either, right? And so the next eclipse that we're having will be, of course, a total solar eclipse in Aries, and I might do a special feature just for that one, and definitely in the week before. So April 8th will be also Monday, and that eclipse will, of course, the band of the eclipse and the path of the eclipse will go over Mexico, Texas, East Coast US, Maritimes, East Coast Canada as well. It will affect both capitals. Very interesting regarding the complete fresh beginnings are encouraged with that eclipse. Then, yeah, so that's why it's called American eclipse. And the new moon will be at 11:21 a.m. Pacific. Yeah, so we can also see the eclipse as a partial eclipse in this case here on the West Coast. And for now, I wish you well. Have a beautiful penumbral eclipse integration week. and maybe I see you in real life, or we see each other. Yeah, we see each other in real life, or you see me again via YouTube next week. Take care. Bye.